Hi, welcome to another episode of Heim Time.
Welcome.
My name is Travis.
I'm Emma.
And this is the Heim Time podcast, brought to you by Tres Agaves Tequila.
Woo-hoo.
Delicious tequila.
Arte.
Shout out Tres Agaves. Delicious, 100% certified organic tequila sponsoring this podcast. We had a great guest today. Very awesome. Our friend
Matt Pittman with Meat Church.
Matt is the creator, founder.
Yeah, I was in awe the whole
Social
time.
media mogul. Now he's doing videos. Now he's got all sorts of stuff. So we've known Matt for a while, which is awesome. Kind of started his stuff the same time we started our restaurants. And I love the guy, and he's going to talk. He's going to have stories.
He's a great guest.
Pitmaster to the stars, I said, because he's constantly, all sorts of celebrities and stuff. And there's a few name drops in the podcast, not as many as
You'll have to listen to hear.
Expected. But shout out Matt, great guest. We appreciate him coming on. If you want to support this podcast directly, patreon.com/HeimTimePodcast. $5 a month. We got some awesome Patreons. Our shout outs this week. Nathan Foster.
Hell yeah.
Seems like a great guy.
Thanks, Nathan.
Nathan, you're the man. Allie or Allison Adamson.
Yeah.
Big
ladies.
follower.
Shout out for the ladies.
Not just weird dudes that follow us, surprisingly. So we got
Thanks,
some
y'all.
beautiful young ladies that follow us as well. And we really appreciate the support. Patreon shout outs every week. But we're up to like 23 now. That's crazy.
I remember when we didn't have any.
Yeah, crazy. So if you have some questions, hit us on Patreon. We always answer any Patreon questions. Again, hope you love this episode. Great time with Matt. We got some other stuff in the works with Matt, maybe in the future, maybe a video,
collabs.
maybe something else. He hinted at OnlyFans. I don't know if we're ready for that, but
I'm ready.
Who knows? We got bills to pay. So thank you again to Tres Agaves, our sponsor, delicious 100% organic tequila. Drink some responsibly while you listen to this podcast. Thanks,
Hell
guys.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Good evening from Fort Worth, Texas. It's slow here in the heat. We're down Main Street.
It's Heim Time. Thanks for watching and listening. Today we have a super fun special guest. He has been a friend for a long time. How do I describe him? Best hair in barbecue. Very handsome young man. Very talented. Fit physique despite the amount of barbecue he cooks. I would say... I'm going to trademark this, so don't steal it yet. Pitmaster to the stars, our friend Matt Pittman.
There we go.
I got to come here more often. You build my ego up.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Welcome to Nexum Studios. Shout out, Paul. I have my bucket of coffee. I think we're ready to go. We have all 17 of Matt's rubs. Matt is the founder, creator, owner of Meat Church.
Woohoo.
What is Meat Church?
Whew, you didn't prepare me for that
Sorry.
one.
What isn't it?
I mean, it's a really unique brand, in my opinion, at least from when I started. I think some people have come along and now there's people kind of following this model. But
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, we've been friends for a long time. And, I never was trying to open a restaurant. I was just making barbecue.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time to reflect back. Like now I can look back and realize what I was doing. And I was kind of always teaching people to make great food for their friends and family. So the short answer is Meat Church is about bringing people together around hopefully great food, but to make great memories, because that's what it's all about. It doesn't matter what you cook on, how you do it, or if you go buy it. It's not really about that. It's about, it is about the process to a degree, clearly, and we all, love that. But ultimately, food is like the center of our lives, and how much time have you spent around a table. And so that's what Meat Church is about to me, the communal aspect of it. And we kind of do a couple things. We have physical barbecue products and lifestyle stuff that we sell, and then we sell whatever it is that Matt Pittman does, which is usually just talk the ears off a statue to whoever will listen about how to make cool food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, I just want to shout out first Meat Church, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube's all at Meat Church, right?
yes,
Awesome YouTube videos. Obviously, the big thing that I think you're mainly known for is the rubs, all sorts of awesome spice rubs from, kind of more, I don't want to say regular, but, kind of traditional rubs to D's Nuts to more gourmet stuff. So all awesome. Meatchurch.com. You can buy any of this stuff, right?
yeah, all these rubs come with a happy ending.
Perfect.
There you go.
By you
Travis.
or someone else? Okay. Do you have to outsource that or?
Yeah, typically.
Hey, $15 an hour, man. That's might be worth it.
Deshaun Watson's actually our new spokesperson.
Okay, I love it. I knew Matt would be good to have on. Awesome. Yeah, Meat Church. It's so cool to see from when we first met. I mean, we both have really unique stories, I think, when you talk about the number of businesses that fail every year,
Right.
and to think that both of us are still
Well,
screwing
when you have
around.
you have a name like D's Nuts, it's not going to end. It's
Yeah.
going
We
far.
actually have that trademark, by the way.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Nice.
that's perfect. You're always a step ahead. I love it. But the Meat Church, great name, great branding, all that stuff. Really started. I guess tell me kind of what was your first introduction of barbecue? How'd you get started? I know we went to some of your tailgates. You're a big tailgate guy. Tell us more about kind of how you got interested in the barbecue sort of grilling world.
Well, I grew up in the deep South, not in Texas. I moved to Texas as a teenager, so I grew up on pork, sweet barbecue sauce. So that to me, barbecue was pulled pork sandwich or ribs.
Yeah.
And then came to Texas, and I have like small stories from early on where I worked at Albertsons, and in the parking lot there was a Riskies, and I had a chopped beef sandwich, and I think they were like 4 for $5. So it was like my daily lunch, and I still love a chopped beef sandwich for that very reason.
They used to do a 5 sandwich for $5 deal, by the way.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but that was like a crazy deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was at Buc-ee's last week, and I got one because people talk about how the chopped beef sandwich is pretty good, and it
Buc-ee's.
totally took me back. Yeah, I wasn't mad about $7 chopped
There you
beef
go.
sandwich, but
$7.
yeah, and that dude was back there just getting it, chopping it. Like I took a little boomerang of him. I was like, get it, like so.
Go for it.
Anyway, at some point, I mean, I went down to Lockhart, and I was in Black's and had a beef rib, and I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I took a bite, and I was like, whoa. And I always tell everybody that was the moment because, salt and pepper barbecue, it's just totally different from what I'd had. And so really started to like it. But then another thing that happened right after college, a coworker of mine was like, he always left on these barbecue road trips. And one day he was like, hey, do you want to go to, I forgot where he mentioned the first time. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, well, I'll pick you up at 5 a.m. And I was like, what? And I was really like
We're
taken
gonna
back.
have lunch, right? Like,
I think he was inviting me to Snow's that particular time because I couldn't make that trip, and I was like, "What? Like that's like,
Sounds
what
like
the
a
hell?"
Snow's trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So y'all all appreciate that now. So
Yeah.
I started to get exposed to it, but then honestly, like everyone that has kids, when you get you're at home with a lot of time on your hands. I'd always been the outdoor cook. Like I've skipped over high school on starting to like boil crawfish, and then have tailgates for the Cowboys right out of college. And I just was the guy cooking outside. So I was always an outdoor cook.
Yeah.
I was actually always didn't go to culinary school because I had this desire to get in school, get out, make good living. But I
skipped
cooked.
that part. I just did the
Smart. Yeah. Looking back, I could have gained those years back. But anyway,
You're better off
I was
for it.
just a, outdoor cook, and then started competing casually, and wasn't trying to be a world champion. Like, me and my brother cooking 8 or 10 times a year. And then the big thing that really happened, the most, I guess, chronicled part was we submitted a tryout video to be on Barbecue Pitmasters, which ironically
One of the best.
was filmed by the guy that had invited me to go on the 5 a.m. trip.
Oh, cool.
But he was just we worked together. The guy that actually taught me to Google.
Huh.
His name is Haivu. So Heim started to do video, and I'd looked at tryout videos, and I was like, "Could you make one for me?" So we did. We submitted it, went kind of crazy, and we got picked to be on the show and had 3 weeks notice. And
Wow.
as the old story goes, I made 2 rubs by hand, and one of them has honey powder in it, and you can't get honey powder at the grocery store. Right. So I was at a place just outside Fort Worth picking it up to get ready for the show, and while the guy was in the back getting my order, he had like a lookbook on the counter. And there were labels I recognized from the competition world. And I was like, "Do you make these or something?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm their Copacker." And I said, "What's a Copacker?" And he explained it to me. And so I was driving back to work in Fort Worth, and I called my brother and told him. He's like, "We'll do it." So I called the guy back. It had been like 10 whole minutes. And I said, "Make my beef rub and call it Holy Cow. And I'll call you, the next day or so with a name for what's now known as Honey Hog."
Wow.
So we took him on the show in a black and white label.
Yeah.
And if you make your own product, they'll actually show it. If you use somebody else's, they'll tape over it. And so that's how we got started. But even then, it wasn't, I didn't think this is what we'd be doing. It was a hobby.
God, that's crazy. I never heard that
all
story,
worked out.
Insane. And we started Instagram, and that's what the part about going back to how I get started. When I look back, I wasn't really, we're more overt about it now, but back then I was still just putting my food out there saying, "Here's a steak I made with this seasoning. Here's how I cooked it." And it's just always been that way. Yeah. And it's kind of worked out.
That's so cool.
I'd say it's worked out. That's crazy. Yeah. I guess I never heard that story. Yeah, it's awesome. And then where can you still watch that video? Cause that's a great video. Is that on your YouTube maybe or something? It
actually is. Okay. I can't watch. I will, even now when we cut a video, I can't stand watching myself. And, but it's funny because this needs to go on BBQ Confessional. So in the tryout video, the pit's smoking, and it's actually burning a Duraflame log.
Perfect.
Which was like the blackest, nastiest smoke ever.
Like, this it's the video quality's great, but this guy's
it's like his barbecue must taste like complete shit.
That's awesome.
Did you have fun doing the show? Did you like that? Was it
they replay it all the time, and every time I still lose. So. Honestly, so it's considered. I say I'm a reality TV star. It's actually a game show, and it's real. Like they don't play.
It's like, ooh, stressful.
And my introduction at the time, I didn't know Tuffy, Myron, and Mo. Your introduction to them is literally the show open, which I think is complete BS because you want to kill the nerves, but. You're mic'd the whole time. The only time they turn it off is when you go to the bathroom.
It's intense, man.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Don't say anything.
So don't think I didn't go to the porta potty and call a lifeline.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's smart, dude. I've never, we've had, I'm sure like you get, but we've had, Chopped has requested a couple times, and some of those things I'm like, that's a nightmare to me. I would hate to do it. I don't want to do it. I love like we did Man Fire Food, and we've done a bunch of like that stuff, and that's good. And if it's for like the restaurant, I guess I like it. But a lot of that stuff, like I guess I won't say the name of the show, but there's one show where it's all scripted. Like every single word is scripted to the point of they're like, okay, now you say this, and now you say this. And I think I've talked about this on here, but I had we were doing beef ribs or something, and then, you're showing them, they do kind of a close up, and then it's like you walk away. So, walking out of the kitchen, and then what they wanted me to say was, I'm going to go take a smoke break. And I was like, I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
It sounds like something you would say though.
No, it doesn't. I would never say that. I'm going to go take a smoke break. And then I was like, I'm not going to say that. And then the producer was like, got Mariah Carey over here, just like, so then we multiple times we shoot it like 3 times, and then they're like, do you think maybe you could just say it one time? And I was like, all right, let's just get this over with.
It's in the series.
No, I know, and it's so stupid. I'm just hilarious. Walk off with go take a smoke break. So
the shows are, they're all terrible. You know, the one that just ended, like they make no, and I'm not hating, they make no sense.
Yeah.
No, we talked about that in the last episode about that one. The last one.
Oh, well, somebody there was a question, and I haven't watched it.
I haven't either.
I've just seen a couple, but
did you watch it? No. I don't have time. I'm sorry.
I was gonna make a joke, and I get whatever. I'll do it now, but I was like, "What's the title? Queer Eye for the Barbecue Guy?" I thought that was pretty good. Not hating them because
Yeah.
I believe
I like
Rodney
that
Scott
guy. I
and all
love
those
that
other
guy.
people, but those type of things go directly to the delete junk mail.
Well, so here's another little ironic thing. We were cast on Chop 3 years ago, I think, and I ended up pulling out because it interfered with family spring break, and so I was like, I'm not going, and so I bailed, and I never felt good about it because it was supposed to be a barbecue episode, but it was going to be cooked indoors, and my whole thing with Chopped, it's like one thing to be nervous, but I don't need to open that basket and be like, how do I make beef ribs with an indoor kitchen with marzipan and, you know, so it doesn't really make sense. Well, we get to Red Dirt and Leonard comes up and he's like, man, I got to tell you something. It's a secret. And I go, what? And he's like, I just filmed Chopped. And I said, when did you film it? And he was like, Thursday. I said, did you meet at the McDonald's in Spanish Harlem? He goes, how'd you know? I go, dude, I was supposed to be on that episode, but thank God I wasn't because you would have killed me.
Yeah.
So it was like Leonard and Issa. We would have showed up and be like, oh, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah. Couple killers, dude. We went last year or the year before to Truth, and I still think
pre-COVID.
I mean, well, you're gonna get me in trouble because I was about to say some shit about Texas Monthly, which I won't. I love them and support them, and they're great. But what I would say is that I think Truth should be number one. I mean, the
Truth
meal
is
that we
so
had
good.
there, everything was so good. The sides were good. They have 35 cakes and desserts to choose
the best
from.
part.
So
And they're all
good.
like delicious.
So many
really
people have
good.
said that when the last list came out. I have a number of friends are like, they're going to be number one. And you already hear that now about this year, about other places.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I
Or
mean,
the other name you mentioned, he should be up there too.
yeah, 2M's great.
At least
they've been great for a
at
long
least
time.
in the top 10 for sure.
But not to get into Texas Monthly talk because I'll say something I'll regret. But Truth, I think if they're not one, they should be up there because it was freaking awesome, and it's just a cool place too. You know.
Yeah.
But,
they have 2 spots now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Brenham in Houston.
We're what have we even announced? I don't know. We haven't announced.
Burleson.
Yeah, you put that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got more on the way.
Stay
so.
tuned.
You guys have officially entered mogul status.
We're getting there. We still have
just
to
gonna be
open
committed.
them. Yeah,
Just commit us.
three is tough. I mean, you've been kind of talking with Mallory a little bit. They just opened their second, and it's a different ball game. And really, there's not a ton. Like I guess Style Switch, like to do like really really good barbecue and like what we try and everybody. You got Style Switch, Evie Mays now. I mean, Truth, I
Vegas?
guess. Yeah, Vegas. Yeah, they have 2, but. It's tough.
It's hard.
It's very hard.
Don't do it.
I've been meaning to ask you guys how that's got to be tough to find that much talent. And
That's the hard part. Yeah, I mean, we have a really great management staff
Yeah, our
right now.
leadership
and
team's great.
You know Wesley, right?
Yeah.
Our director of
He's our
ops.
director of ops now.
He's
Worked
kicking
all the
ass.
way up. Like,
He's a
go-
Saints
awesome.
fan, so it's
I know,
you
you got to put up with Louisiana crap, but
Yeah.
get
Like,
past
nobody's
that.
holding you back. Go ahead. Take the reins.
I text him. I go, dude, Jameis MVP. It's Jameis's year. Quarterback. He's going all the way. We'll see. Is Drew Brees retired? I don't know if you know.
yeah.
So.
Oh.
We're getting off topic. So anyway, Pitmasters is awesome. That's so cool. I mean, I think the coolest thing I love about your story is how, and something that we talk about a lot is like, you could have just done Pitmasters and then that was it. And then how you've grown and like done more rubs, all the t-shirts, all the merch stuff, everything is like crazy. What was that process like? Was it even intentional, or were you just like, okay, this is something new, and then now like YouTube's a thing, and like we want to do YouTube videos? Like, is it thinking back from like Pitmaster days, what we were talking about, to now? Is it crazy to think like you ever thought you would have all this stuff going on?
Yeah, no, I 100% didn't think it'd become what it is. It's a beast. I mean, and the weirdest thing, like I'll just give you a little example. This past weekend, we were in New Braunfels, and the people that come up to you and say like whatever, like homie church, or I love the videos, or what, just get noticed. That's when it's like, and when Tracy's with me, that we're like, this is crazy.
That's awesome.
From like pulling into this backstage thing where you have to have a laminate to get in, and the sheriff doesn't even look at the laminate. He's like, oh my God, it's me church. And then
So
just
cool.
these random little things that like you realize the reach that's the crazy thing. But
I was joking. I just interrupt real quick. I was joking with my friend who's on sports radio in town, and we were playing golf, and this guy, this 50-year-old, fat guy was like, hey, Bob, what's up, man? Good to see you. And we drove off, and I was like, and we get that, I'm barbecue, when we go out to eat. And I was like, isn't it a little bit disappointing? It's just 50-year-old fat guys that like recognize us.
Yeah.
It's like, there's not any like 19-year-old sorority girls.
Right.
They're like, oh, dude, Heim barbecue.
It did happen to me once. And luckily, Tracy was with me, but the Houston rodeo 2 years ago, this like pack of like 20-something-year-old girls come in, and one of them's like, "Oh my God, I'm a huge fan." I'm like, "She's got to be planted because this doesn't happen. This is not the
Always
demographic."
fat dudes.
But it was apparently her dad was a big fan, or so it's happened once.
That's awesome.
One time.
We'll hold out,
And
hilarious.
in New Braunfels, I'm sure you were just doing some small like catering, no big deal,
Yeah,
just for
just
some
100
random
people.
loser. Yeah. That's awesome. I want to talk about tailgate. So we're getting into tailgate season. That's a big deal. Tailgate King, some of the most epic tailgates we've ever been to.
where we were called barbecue white people.
Yeah,
that?
I remember that. I still don't know what it means.
I don't either. I have several compliments. I felt like it was a compliment,
Yeah,
I think, but
maybe.
I have a few that have stuck with me, and I'll never forget that one.
Yeah,
Seems straightforward, no?
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
Anyway.
What do you think are keys for the ultimate tailgate?
Funny you bring that up. I was talking to Miller Lite on the way over here because we're going to try to do some stuff at a
So cool.
tailgate stuff.
Yeah.
Dream come true. I'm driving to the event last weekend, and I had a conference call with the Cowboys, and I'm like, this is awesome. And it was about doing something at the stadium, like with my new rig. I'm like, okay.
It's so cool.
But I mean, the tailgating thing for me, the interesting story was right out of college, no money, and I just huge football fan and wanted to go to the game. So I went to the old Texas Stadium and applied for a job as an usher, which I got. And then they put me on the 40-yard line on the visiting side. So I had, you're about 28 rows up. I had an amazing view of every game. But the second year I went in, they said, "Do you want to do water?" And I didn't know what that meant. And it was, "Do you want to do water for the cheerleaders?" So I did that for 5 years.
Like, hell no. What a terrible job.
Unbelievable.
Terrible.
And then I always say in a life full of bad decisions, I left that job to pay for tickets. But I bought one ticket, and my brother bought one, and two other guys bought one. So we had 4 tickets in the old stadium for a couple seasons, Quincy Carter year.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Chad Hutchinson years or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of bad decisions.
Yeah.
And then we came over to the new stadium. So, that tailgating was a big part of my whole outdoor cooking. Someone had to cook, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But we actually have this grill somewhere. We bought this Cowboys Keg-A-Q. It looks like a little mini keg.
Yeah.
That was like our first grill.
Yeah.
So that needs to go in the Meat Church Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, that to frying turkeys at Thanksgiving. I still have all these pictures. And it was like the best times ever at the old stadium. Anyway, and then progressed to, we can have some crazy ones now. But we used to try to go to every game and have a big blowout, and word of mouth got out, and like friends of friends came and they know where we're at. And now with kids, we don't get to every game like we want to. But I always tell people it's about the tailgating because you're going to be disappointed with the outcome of the game. And
Be honest, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not hating on the Cowboys,
No,
but
it's so true.
you get to a point in your life where you're like, I don't want to be pissed off going to work on Monday. And that's how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course Tony Romo fudges the snap in a
Sure.
playoff game. Like that's what's supposed to happen. So the tailgate has to be good.
Yeah.
But
Evens out.
tailgating is what it's about. It's a ton of fun. And I wasn't ever trying to be like I'm the tailgate king. There's people with bigger setups or whatever, but that has morphed into like things we teach and stuff like that. And that's what we were talking to Miller about, shooting tailgate videos at the stadium, which I didn't think there's no way the Cowboys would allow that to happen. So anyway, that's
I
kind of
guess
cool.
they are official sponsor though, right?
Yeah.
For Cowboys. So.
They're
There
like,
you
I mean, if
go.
I told you the money.
I'm just trying to work for you, Matt.
Well, no. There's no money coming to me. I'm talking about what Miller Lite pays the
No, I'm
Cowboys.
sure it's insane.
They're going to let me do something at the stadium. There will be no dollars involved, I assure you.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, that's so sick.
Yeah.
We I mean to be, and I wanted to bring this up because you are an Alabama fan, which goes back to where you grew up. You're a Cowboys fan. Are you a Rangers fan?
Yeah.
I know
worked
you're a
for the
Stars fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I worked for a couple of those. I worked for the out of college 97 I worked in the Rangers clubhouse for half a season when we had Pudge, Juan Gonzalez.
Awesome.
So,
cool.
yeah, big fan there. I'm actually supposed to start teaching barbecue to the opposing teams.
Oh, yeah?
We're just waiting on COVID stuff. But yeah, and I worked for the Dallas Stars for 13 seasons. I'm a big sports guy.
That's awesome. We've done
Meat and sports.
we've done a couple caterings we did one for the Mariners and something else.
Yeah.
But then like 3 of the guys are pescatarians, and it's just like a
That's the
nightmare
best part.
for us because we got to do all this other crap, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever. But yeah, I guess I was just gonna say, hasn't been great recently to be a North Texas sports fan. You
It's
get a
terrible.
little Stars, Mavs, whatever, and then you're celebrating a championship every year for Bama, but as a TCU fan, it's woe is me. But Cowboy, what do we think of the Cowboys this year? Do we feel good about it? We've been watching Hard Knocks.
I
and,
did because of the offense, but
Yeah.
I think something's wrong with Dak, and
I do too.
I think there's no, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
They're
Something's
hiding
wrong.
something.
They are. I mean, I asked a guy that used to play for the Cowboys, same position, what he thought,
right.
and he was like, "It doesn't make sense. Like something's,
Yeah.
I think so too.
they're just trying to act like they're trying to rest him, or
He's not going to throw until the first
Day one.
snap of the season. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. And
a lot of good guys to catch it if they can get it to him, but
God, dude, CeeDee Lamb is a beast.
that's
I mean,
exciting. I think the offense is going to be fun.
Might be a Nooch season. Ben DiNucci.
Oh man,
See the next guy up.
It's just always so hopeful, and then it's just like every year.
What's
doesn't work out.
What's AJ McCarron doing? Is he available? Can we pull one of
If he's
those
still
guys
backing
out?
up or not? I mean, I swear the Cowboys refused to draft anybody from Alabama. We finally did, have a corner, so a little bit, but
What a strange
Why'd
strategy.
they get rid of Dalton though? Why?
Just too expensive,
Yeah,
I
it went-
think,
Oh.
because he
went bigger money.
Because they want
paid
Dak
him a
more,
lot.
I guess.
Well, it is kind of rare to have a good second quarterback. Like, there's not a lot of teams, that I could think of that are going to pay $12 million a year for a backup. And then Dalton too showed enough to where the Bears, who are just idiots, I guess, were like, oh, he could start for us. And then they lucked into drafting Justin Fields, who's going to be, by all accounts, pretty good. Maybe Ohio State quarterbacks don't usually work out well, but he seems all right. But
Supposedly can't miss. We'll see.
yeah, you never know with those guys. That was a funny story that on Pardon My Take, they had Trubisky on, and they said when the Bears drafted him number 2 overall, they traded all their picks. They didn't even call him. They forgot to call him to tell him that they were drafted. So he found out he was drafted like whenever they announced it or whatever. They didn't even call him. So
Maybe that's why it's worked out so poorly for them.
So anyway, Dalton's their starting quarterback week 1, allegedly, unless they decide to start Fields. But if they start him, he'll probably get murdered. So, so that was sports talk.
I feel like you have a future in this.
No, I don't know,
You can holler at Bob and say, I think you need to fill in.
dude. I need to get Bob on because too they just won. A big Bucks fan, and so he was at the game. So it was like, what's it like to celebrate a team's championship?
Yeah.
I haven't done that since I was 5 years old. Freaking,
But I'll tell you,
Jerry
it's
Jones.
a curse though, because I try to go to all the big Bama games,
Yeah.
but it's hard to explain when you lose. And now you get no sympathy. People are like, oh, you've been there, it doesn't matter. But going to a championship game and losing,
yeah,
man, it's like you can't get out of the city quick enough.
right.
And
right,
of
right.
course, when Deshaun Watson came back and beat Bama at the end in Tampa Bay, our flight was canceled. And we had to sit there and think about it longer. It's just like when I lost on Pitmasters. I had to drive home from Tampa, Florida,
Oh God.
22 hours. And have you ever heard of an ice storm in the panhandle of Florida? Because I hit one and got stuck for 2 or 3 days. And the lady was like, oh, that barbecue pit, you can make barbecue for everybody in the hotel because everything's shut down. I was like, I'm not making anything.
I'm not barbecuing again.
My Jambo was like frozen shut in the parking lot. True story.
Jeez.
The
The odds.
Deshaun Watson dig at the start makes more sense now. I forgot about when
It's
he beat
personal.
Bama. Yeah, we got this is an anti Deshaun Watson podcast. I love it. A lot of questions we got. I mean, now you have a million rubs. How do you approach like doing a new rub? Is it you're like, okay, this is a protein, and then I want to make something for this, or are you more like create a rub and then test it out on? Is there a process?
Yeah, it's been interesting, and we haven't made a new one in 2 years. I mean, we released a chili seasoning last year. So aside from that, Voodoo was the newest, and it's also interesting because I mean, you guys are in Texas, make barbecue. You know how you season it. It's generally pretty straightforward. But you know, I'm not going to make a living selling just salt and pepper.
Right.
So you know, we're trying to. First off, I don't want to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want 100 rubs. That's not our goal. We kind of want to paint the biggest stroke. So we want, for the core things you want to cook, we want to have an option. And we're at that point. Like now I decide like, you know, I've got to stay relevant and exciting, but what would I do next? And I'm not trying to create 10 niche rubs.
Right.
But the general thing was like, okay, if I walked in, if a core group of customers walked in a barbecue store and wanted to make something, what would they pick and what am I missing?
Right.
And so that's how we got to the honey pecan rub. You know, at one point we're like, well, the John Henry pecan rub's really popular in Texas. Like maybe we should do something like that. But sticking with what I said at the beginning, I don't want to be anybody else. I don't look at any other seasoning companies and say, hey, that one over there wins competitions.
Right.
I want to figure out what's in that. I don't do that. It's about like, what would people enjoy? What tells a good story? So yeah, I mean, you know, anybody can formulate a rub at this point. That gets to the tricky part. You create something, you got to cook with it, test it, it's got to be good. And I'm so nervous about creating a flop because we've been pretty fortunate so far. So I cook a ton of chicken with stuff that we test, and then I usually will send it out to people that I trust that I think are good cooks. And I'll be like, what do you think about this? Like, for instance, that fajita rub, I sent it to Robert Sierra.
Yeah.
I sent it to a bunch of my Hispanic friends. I was like, tell me what you think.
Smart.
And we try to be different with things. Like our hot rub had, when we decided we wanted a rub with heat in it, there's a ton of chipotle and barbecue, and sticking with I don't want to be like everybody else, we put jalapeno in it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that would do good, but it's done well.
I really
So
like
it's
the
a lot of
Holy
trial and
Voodoo.
error.
It's got
That's our
some
favorite.
spice, but you know, it's you know, kind of, I don't know. You wouldn't say Cajun, would you? But it's got a little.
So it was Cajun influence.
Yeah.
So it's more salt forward. A lot of the rubs are sugar forward because I think that's needed to make a balanced rub. But
Right.
I was trying to create something more savory, a little pop in it, so a little hot, but not like it would burn you up.
Yeah.
So it's savory and a little sweet. It's a great rim on a
Yeah.
Bloody Mary or a margarita.
Hell
But
yeah.
that's our favorite. It's our number one rub now. It's got the best art.
That's really
It
cool.
does.
Yeah, I'm partial to the D's nuts.
Me too.
Yeah.
Art, the little squirrel guy.
That's so my cartoon artist, I tell him like, hey, this is what I want, and he sends me a sketch, and it was pretty funny. Like it started out with the guy holding the squirrel holding the nuts like down there, and anyway, they evolve over time.
There's a
Like, that'll
little,
do.
Yeah. There's an alternate label for that didn't make it that would have been pretty funny.
Yeah, you can also onlyfans.com/meatchurch. You can subscribe.
We talk a lot about that lately.
Subscribe there. Yeah.
My wife just let me know this morning that they reversed their decision to not allow porn on OnlyFans, so that will
smart.
extend my career.
Tracy keeping you up to date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I you know, I just don't even think about this stuff, but like I'm thinking consumers, retail, like at home, but there's a whole like world of competition barbecue where these guys are like paying a fortune in rubs and stuff. And so you've had some success, right, with guys that have used the rubs. And do you call them deacons? Is that what it is? Or what's the...
Yeah, so we have an ambassador team that we weren't trying to be like super formal with what we call them, but we're like, you know, do you like the word deacon? Like, I don't go
cool.
too far on the
That's fun.
church side.
I
I
like
think
that.
they dig it.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Nobody's going to get upset about that, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, social media, you could get upset about anything.
Anything.
I guess, but
Speaking of social media, y'all just have a huge following,
yeah.
which is insane. Are you running all of that, or do you pay
it's,
somebody to do that?
honestly, it's still me, which
But you do
is
the
crazy.
best at it, though.
Thank you.
You do. I
It's
mean,
a lot
takes
of work.
so much time.
We've been talking about it over the past couple weeks. Like I started it, and it's important to me to run it because I'm interacting. Like I'm trying to help people. Like people
Right.
tell me, don't read the comments, which I understand that, but I read them because I'm trying to help
Yeah.
people. That's all I'm doing,
Right.
and that's unique. There's not really people.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons the brand has gotten where it is because they know it's me talking, and whether everything from Instagram, Facebook to YouTube, it's me.
Yeah.
But when you get whether it be a certain size, you know, you're gonna have haters, or, as y'all know.
Oh, yeah.
I deal with basically this is my version of Yelp.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I couldn't do what y'all do in that regard. But like this past weekend, you know, I've got a guy that's total fanboy, in my opinion. You would know him from Chefs for Farmers, and he's been commenting like crazy, and I just ignore it because I just let that stuff go because the audience will handle it.
Right.
That's true.
But he's been commenting on my wife's stuff, and then finally he comes out and T-Czar calls him out. He's like, you got nothing nice to say, then shut up. And then
I probably know who this is, actually.
you'll know exactly who it is. In the industry consensus is that he's got some screws loose. But in any case, he writes a paragraph about how my following is bought. And I'm like, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. You work with household name brands like Miller. The first thing they do is validate your following.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
And if you've watched over the years, it's not like I just popped 50,000 followers. Like it's been a ton of hard. The amount of hours I've put into Instagram when somebody says that I've bought my following just pisses me off. So
it's so upsetting, I'm sure. Yeah.
at some point, it may not make sense for me to be in the weeds just because of that, because it brings me down. Like my day to day can be like last Sunday, we're at a friend's house. And my wife's like, you're not in a great mood. And I'm like, well, I've been sitting here watching the news about this Afghanistan crap for 30 minutes. And by the way, I just read this. And I was like, and I'm like, I shouldn't be in a bad mood because of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hate how
you.
people talk, online.
Dude, it's so stupid.
Especially, I'm sure you guys deal with it. You have multiple restaurants. And when people come in and take a dig, it's like, do you have any idea how hard we've worked to get here?
Yeah.
It's weird.
No one understands it, though.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's the same with you because you're directly like, I created this.
Yeah, it's my
you know
baby.
what I mean? And so even like small things and Emma handles everything but Twitter. We know that I piss
do
people
Twitter.
off on Twitter. Let's be honest.
I've been on record asking Emma to take that away from you.
Yeah. Well, you said I called Brad Sham a dick or whatever. I forgot about that. I definitely did do that.
That was the last conversation. That was at Red Dirt.
Yeah. He still comes in the restaurant, so maybe he didn't see that. But nice.
I do
guy.
have the authority, though.
You do, yeah. Well, the thing is, and it's like it'll be. I'll like send off like some fire tweet that I'm like, this is hilarious. People are really gonna like this. And then she has the notifications on her phone, so she'll just look at me and go, "What did you do?"
Well, it'll be like,
Like,
boom, 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 boom.
Okay, delete. Sorry about that.
That's awesome.
No, and so you handle all like customer complaints and stuff. Even now,
because I'm the same. I like to handle. I feel like if it's our voice coming through, then they are going to appreciate it more. But it is a beating sometimes, and I don't know why it's always at midnight that they feel like they need to send something to
That's
me.
a good indicator. If you get the midnight to 2 a.m.,
yeah.
all right, you've
You're
been
like-
in the sauce.
You don't have anything else going on. Like,
And then you're
just,
like, sit on your
come
hands, don't say anything back.
And it's too for us. It's there's a great book, Setting the Table by Danny Meyer, that I always talk about. But it's like all customer complaints, and this is more restaurant related, but I'm sure the same for you, is like all customer complaints boil down to someone like not being heard. Like they feel like at the end of the day, like they were mistreated, or like, and it could be as simple as like leaving out a potato salad or whatever, but you don't know what everybody has going on in their life. Their, grandma could have just died or something. And then they fire off a, message to us about whatever. And so I think I feel like I have a much different approach. Although I say that, I will like fire off on some people at Twitter every now and then, because you're just like,
you can only kick the dog so much before it's going to bite you.
Yeah. And some people, it's different if it's like a complaint or something like this versus like the guy who I think, you were talking about. He's blocked. Like he's literally has like mental issues, I think. No disrespect.
Like legit. Yeah.
But I just don't even need to hear that. So it's like mute or block or whatever on Twitter.
I love the mute.
It's not worth whatever, but I don't know. I won't tell that story, but I'll tell another story. So we had the collard greens, right, which is delicious. I think they're perfect. I really love them. We were doing only Wednesdays because it was like the price went up and it's kind of a hard process, whatever. So every Wednesday's collard green day. So this guy on Facebook, right?
I think Instagram.
Or Instagram messaged, and he was like, I've been for like 4 Wednesdays in a row and never gotten collard greens. And he was like, I showed up at like 11:30 and you guys were out of collard greens.
Oh man.
And we're like, and so then that comes to you, and then now we have to filter it like to the managers, like, is this guy like nuts? Is this a real complaint? Like, what's going on? And then sometimes the thing with us, and I'm sure you battle with this, is like, can I save this customer? Is this worth like having a conversation? I feel like for the most part, people are willing to like hear like, hey, this, maybe something got shipped late or something, like, well, this is why. And then they understand it and then whatever. And this guy, we just told the manager, because he was like calling and complaining and like
It's
pissed.
like, I'll never come back.
I'll never come back because of the collard greens, right? And then
I can't get past that part. By
I
the
know,
way.
right?
I
They're
mean, I
my
could get
recipe,
that you're
they're
out
good.
of bacon burn-ins. Did you ever think we'd be on a podcast talking about how you've wronged this customer because you're out of collard greens?
He's like, I kicked his dog or whatever. But so then we did collard greens 7 days a week, which was kind of like, not because of him, but it was like, we can do it 7 days a week, right? Like, this doesn't need to be a thing. So he did it, and then he came in and got food, and the manager like sent a photo and was like, he's like a happy customer and all this. And I guarantee you, he probably won't come in the rest of the year. You know what I mean?
Probably
That's
not.
just how it is like they're just
He probably
complain
was
and,
like, now that I got them, these actually suck.
I was going to say, did he like them?
Yeah.
Hopefully
He's
he loved
these,
them.
These suck so bad, I'm never coming back.
No, they're good.
That's crazy.
They are good. This episode is brought to you by Trace Agave's Tequila, 100% USDA certified organic tequila.
Delicious tequila, some of our favorite. They got the Añejo, they got the Blanco, they got the Reposado. Tequila made in tequila, slow roasted for approximately 20 hours, almost like delicious brisket, you may say. Trace Agave's awesome stuff. Thanks for sponsoring Heim Time Podcast. You might want to check out their organic margarita mix. They also have a strawberry margarita mix. No high fructose corn syrup if you're trying to watch the weight like myself. Maybe just a little ranch water, just some tequila over ice. Delicious stuff. Like Emma said, 100% certified organic. Awesome tequila. Thank you, Trace Agave's. Drink some responsibly. One thing I wanted to mention first, which this is something that I've tried to have my input with social media, but I feel like you know what you're doing more than me. One of the most influential posts I've saw from Meat Church was I want to say tray of chicken wings or something like that, but it was just giant boobs. It was a close-up shot of
is this the input you
a
want?
young lady in a bikini holding a tray, and it was funny too because it was like one of probably your highest posts, right? It was like,
it was number one for a number of years.
the comments were like, "Yeah, this is awesome," and I was like, I think I told you, I was like, "Dude, we should do like this post is blowing up," and. But I don't know, maybe we can't get away with that, but I feel like it's so awesome.
It's so awesome, Matt.
So it was
badass.
fun. Let's just tell the story.
Okay, I'm ready.
We're in the backyard. Said model was my wife.
Okay.
And it was actually her idea.
Okay.
Good for her.
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of what makes it funny.
Yeah.
And we're not Black Rifle Coffee, so we don't have that like in every picture.
Right.
But I lost followers that day.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds.
Really?
I remember this part of it. Yeah.
And so it was the number, but at the same time, it was the number one most liked photo of all time until I met Joe Rogan and she got passed. I think she's still pissed about that part. But anyway, it was, there's all sorts of comments about don't, objectify women. And, the best was like, your wife must be so proud. I'm like, you can talk to her because that's her and it was her idea. But I have a daughter, so I get it.
Yeah.
But it's like you can't take a position for anything on the internet anymore. It's crazy.
No. And to
I
be clear,
agree.
the bikini, it wasn't like anything, I thought.
The deal was I made the wings and her and friends were in the hot tub and she was just like holding them.
Yeah.
Just living life.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, so all of that to say, I think, and the backstory is great, but your marketing is like nailed into demographic, perfect. Like it's awesome. And I wish we had that. Not like boobs necessarily, but I mean, it's like for us trying to figure out like social media stuff and
We
it's
are
so
the
interesting.
hipsters of barbecue, so who are we supposed
no one's ever said that to my face too. That's one that
I didn't know that was a thing. That you guys get called that?
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Not really anymore, because now
We got it the other day.
now we're the old guys.
Yeah.
We've been doing it 6 years, and it's like we're the old people, and so early on, like when we opened Magnolia and like the barbecue addicts and that stuff. It was like, that's a hipster barbecue.
I'd never heard that.
Well, we also try to do like a nicer building than some of like the traditional Texas barbecue places.
Yeah.
We're not in a food truck. And so they're like, oh, they have tile. Like this is outrageous.
They have restrooms.
Yeah.
It's not porta potties.
Yeah.
You guys did go trailer to the penthouse, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Hipsters.
YOLO.
I didn't know. Yeah.
I know Dallas is like super nice.
So
That building
the
is,
video
like,
I sent you
nice.
yesterday.
Yeah.
That's the chef for Ace Hardware, Chef Jason, and he had gone to Mockingbird, and he was like, I picked it up and I said, because they went to Buc-ee's before my house. I said, you get at Buc-ee's? And he was like, no. So I forgot he picked up people from the airport, and he was like, dude, that building's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
Thanks. Yeah. We love that thing.
It's cool, man. It's a weird story
Speaking
how
of
we
meat church.
got in there, but yeah. Well, I've always said, and this is a question that I had, and I know you get all the time. You need to find a abandoned church, and we need to open a restaurant. And you notice I just said we, and then retrofit it and all that. But a meat church in an old church, how badass?
Like
would
a
that be?
stained glass with a beef
we
rib.
met a guy that has a catering business somewhere, and they relocated an old church. It's small, but inside was looks like Joanna Gaines, like
Yeah,
I was like, dude, that would be sick.
that'd be cool.
But we need to do something at some point. There's actually there's a church 1 block from my house, but it's humongous.
Yeah.
But it's in the back of my head for sure.
So there is a maybe of restaurant. I would, with everything in me, tell you not to
I know.
because it's such a nightmare.
I know.
In
Well,
some
and we have
a
respects,
good
but
team,
But like with the model we've created, first off, and if I'm being totally honest from the gut, we don't need to.
yeah,
But then the whole reason not everyone opens a restaurant. Well, you're everything you do in a business is to make money, clearly. But it's like you want people to tell your food is great, have a place to hang out, all that sort of thing. So I'm not looking to go do that. I mean, my next move needs to be a bigger facility, like with a studio in it, to like further those things we do. I always listen. Like we turned down an amazing offer 2 years ago, but I can't get my hand out of things. I'm not a control freak. You got to trust your team and all that. But no matter what you do, new business, it's going to take a certain amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm out of that time. Yeah.
somebody I know,
Yeah.
a lot like that. But it's hard.
I can't
like
help it to, yeah.
the same thing. Like when
It's your name.
how we both started, and you create it, and then now we have great management and team and stuff. But even then, you're just still like daily. We struggle with like, should we say something about that, or should we? It's like how much input, because that's the whole thing of like you have good people, and then you have to give them autonomy to make decisions. Based on these are our values, these
framework.
are our goals. But
operate within.
if you're too micromanagey, then that drives people nuts.
And that's what's interesting about watching you guys and all your successes as you get bigger, which I would do as well. If I was in your shoes, I would be doing the same thing. But when you made everything yourself, right, there was a certain amount of quality over it. And so I know you think about that as you expand and things like that. And in everything you do, whether it be a shirt or food you're making or whatever, your name is on it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Dan, like even a good example, which, the Copacker thing for our rubs. Like it was literally like we were making our own rubs, for the restaurant. Now we have them at Buc-ee's and stuff, but for retail. But you got a hungover guy in the smokehouse, and he's like, did I put salt in? 2 minutes later, did I put salt in? And this is a true story. And then you have, hundreds of pounds of meat that comes out that tastes like a salt lick, for a deer or something. So then we switch to a co-packer, right? And so a co-packer makes all of them for retail and for the restaurants. Our whole setup now is we have a commissary kitchen catering deal. We do the majority of the sides there. We trim our briskets there. We do all of that stuff, and then that gets sent to the restaurants. So as much as you can balance, and I talked with Mark Rosati, the culinary director for Shake Shack, and he was like, when we were talking, I was like, we want to grow, not like Shake Shack, but we want to grow. What's the key? And he was like, you gotta do that. You gotta figure out a way to maintain the quality, but have it centralized to where that whoever's getting the collard greens at Magnolia is the same as Dallas and all that. And I think that's a key to our success. We don't get a lot of credit for it, but to be able to have 3 stores and be consistent. And then the other thing that we always talk about is people, systems, processes. So our system, like there's no room for hey, I want to cook brisket this way, you know, and we get guys that come in during training and they're like, have you ever thought about doing this with your ribs? And it's like, this isn't the job for you, pal. You know what I mean? And we have a guy, Jesus, who's like our executive pit master, I think is his official title. He's been with us forever. Great. And so that's his whole job, is just making sure that everybody's doing the same thing, that the consistency's there every day. And that's hard. But the last thing you want is, even if something's like great, like, you know, the ribs at Mockingbird are awesome. Well, even if it's different than Magnolia or River, then it's like, we don't want that either. We want you to get as good barbecue as possible, sides as possible, but it needs to be consistent across all of them.
Yeah, it sounds like
hard.
you guys have reduced a bunch of variables
Try
by centralizing it all, and it's smart.
I mean, that's, you know, and that's part of any, I guess, multi-location thing, but enough about us. I hate fucking talking about us. What is, dude, I think it's, but to that point, I'll just say that's like the Chip and Joe thing. Like, they have a restaurant, they have a bakery, and it's like, you know, I envision the Matt and Tracy Waxahachie takeover of Chip and Joe. You guys could do it.
It gets brought up. I mean, you know,
when's the show coming out? You need a show. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, so it's funny you bring that up. The guys that were just in town with Ace shooting with us this week, they went down to Waco and, you know, naturally went to the silos. And I said, you know, it's interesting because I said, when we went last year, you pull up to this city block and clearly respect, as an entrepreneur, respect the hustle. But there's this gigantic line outside to get cupcakes. They're not known to make cupcakes, but there's 200 people in line to get a cupcake.
Right.
Richard Rawlings came down and visited the store one day because he's trying to do this food show, and he was telling me about it and whatnot. And there's a barbecue joint next door to us that basically shares the same building we're in. And he's like, why don't you own that? And I said, so you know the whole restaurant backstory. It's like, I'm not really trying to be in that business. And then he pushes, but you're going to bring this consumer from wherever, you know, there's people that come here for a destination. They need the whole experience, talking about the Chip and Joanna thing. And so it makes sense. But then I'm like, man,
that's a lot.
Except the restaurant part. Like, can we do something that, like, could we make cupcakes? Could we just So Meat Church barbecue cupcakes maybe coming.
Yeah, I love
a little
it.
Bacon on top.
I'd buy it. You mentioned chili earlier. Just a quick beans or no beans?
No beans. I mean, look, beans may be great in chili, but we're in Texas, so by God, we got to claim we're team meat.
I couldn't agree more.
My God.
I couldn't agree more.
But so when we came out with it, we did a video on it, man, there's nothing more polarizing, by the way, than the chili debate, which I've learned. Chase Colston said he's got a William Clark Green shirt that says no beans and chili. So then I promptly went out and bought it. And he said that he almost got in a fight at a bar over that shirt. But if you read the comments on chili, so if you don't put beans in it, everyone's like, just glorified hot dog sauce. I'm like, well, by God, that'd be the best hot dog sauce I've ever had in my life.
Sounds delicious.
Meaty. Yeah,
we did, and this is like a video we need to do. You're the video guy, but I did a video one time of the steps for making chili, and I had a can of beans and like the third step, and then I just like threw it in the trash. That was the video. Like,
in my
piss people off.
In my chili video, I picked up a can, I threw it in the garbage.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Great minds, dude.
Yeah.
We're trying to do more YouTube. We put these out on YouTube, and then we did a video of slicing a brisket, and that has like 8,000 views. It's like it's definitely terrible. Our biggest view. Yeah, but it's like in the smokehouse at River, and the AC units kicking on, the like sound quality sucks. So anyway, Paul's gonna hook us up with some.
I feel like we should do a video. We're gonna have friends come in.
You got Zavalas, you got all these other guys.
Yeah, we did it on this. We did this like brisket thing, and so we, had Jerby and Joe in there for those, and that just thought, why don't we do like a, we have the good fortune of like, barbecue's a big family. Like, why not bring some of our friends in? Just make it interesting.
Yeah,
it's like the shows. Like half the reason you watch these shows is because Guy Fieri goes to a new place. Yeah. And so anyway, we should do one.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I just gotta say real quick, because this was like. You'll think it's funny, but did you listen to the Tales of what's it called?
Tales from the Pit?
Tales from the Pit thing that they did with the Fort Worth guys?
I saw pictures, but I have not heard it.
So anyway, speaking of Jerby, it was like all the Fort Worth guys, and we were, whatever. It was, and like everybody pretty much a ton of, but anyway, somebody asked some question and, unprompted, he said, "Yeah, you can throw that book in the trash," from the guy in Austin. And we go, "Whoa."
Everybody goes, whoa.
But I guess he worked there. And so I don't know, there's some history, but I talked to him after and I was like, when I was there, I had a non disclosure. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not worried about that." And I was like, okay.
Yeah. I think he's past it now.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
we did a video with him and Greg, he's come out of nowhere with his YouTube stuff and he's cool as heck.
Yeah. Super
So
nice guy.
Joe and I
he's
had
nice.
been talking about, I was just decided I would do a little series on difference because I never say like, this is how you should cook anything. Like I just am here to educate the why. Why do you do things? So we had him come in because he had been doing some tallow stuff lately. And, tallow's nothing new, but some guy has like put it out on YouTube and everybody acts like it's a new thing.
Right.
It's so funny. Joe's standing in my street watching and Jerby just like, he pulls out some secrets from down there that we did not ask and did not know were coming. And he just like does it while we're filming. And I look up and Joe Zavala's like, while it's happening.
Yeah.
That guy is hilarious.
He is
Zavala
funny, man.
is
Yeah.
so
We need
funny.
to go see. That's a problem. Like, I want to go to Cadillac. It's like I can never go.
I know.
You know what I mean? We're like busy on those days, but we need to go. I want to go to Smokeaholics is the main one I want to go to.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be
I like
awesome.
that guy.
Yeah, when the tallow thing came out, because as you know and have known for a while, that's a thing that's gone on in Austin, and then the other unmentioned things, I'm sure the same stuff that they were doing. But and that's what's funny is like in barbecues the same way, but your Holy Cow rub is like very similar to the rub that we use on our brisket. And that is very similar to the rub that I think, some of the top 10 Texas monthly barbecue places, especially in Austin, use. But for 10 years, it was salt and pepper.
Yeah.
All you got to do is salt and pepper. And then guys that don't, know a lot open food trucks and restaurants, and then they just use salt and pepper. And you go and you're like, shit, this is salty, or like, whatever.
It's too much.
But they're, I don't know.
Put yourself in my shoes on YouTube now where I'm dealing with, we have a tallow video and there's people telling me that I should credit this mad scientist barbecue guy who's some YouTuber in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just making videos. And I'm like, give him credit for what? Because one of our colleagues told him it was a thing. And then I'll get a lot of comments. I'll say like Texas style brisket and I'll put my Holy Cow on it and they'll say, and I get all kinds of comments about that's not Texas. It'd just be salt and pepper. And I'm like, little do you know.
I know. No joke.
And it doesn't matter, but.
No. Yeah. I mean,
Little do you know.
There's a place, and I always like never know if I should say or not, but like, rubs. And I say this during our classes, but there's a place that's very famous, blah, blah, blah. My friend, was there, was standing in line, went to go pee or something, and noticed that in the smokehouse or the kitchen or whatever was just tons of Lowry's seasoning salt.
Mm-hmm.
Was like all like just Lowry seasoning salt. So he was trying to figure out their rub, and then turns out they like just use Lowry seasoning salt. Like that's literally like Lowry's and a little bit of black pepper, and that's what their like secret is.
Well, I mean,
and I'll tell you after who it was, because you'll
the rub in front of you, the seasoned salt used to be called Seasonal until I was informed that Morton's had a 59-year-old trademark on the term Seasonal.
Okay.
But the reason, one of the reasons we developed that, and that's one of our first rubs. I think it was our third rub. I'd learned that people use Lowry's, and so that was like our take on a Lowry's.
Yeah.
Now it's not in our other rubs, but so Jerby took some of that to apply some of that technique.
Sure.
I do like that kid.
We're gonna get
Guy.
in trouble.
He'll be in here in a tie-dye shirt one day.
Yeah, pink tie-dye, which I like.
Yeah, he's good.
He's great.
It's interesting, and that's like the Texas monthly thing and all that. Like, I'm gonna get in trouble, but it's really cool. Those guys are all awesome, and I've always thought for a while somebody with their pedigree, because the one kid worked at like Micklethwait, the other kid worked at Valentina or something, all that, and then they go to open a place, in Kennedale in the middle of nowhere. But it was like if you did that in like Dallas proper or something, I mean,
They'd be rich.
they and that's the thing is like I'm sure they're doing fine or whatever, but and they'll get a claim and all that stuff, but that's like Truth. Like Truth was awesome. They started wherever, and I think it was intentional. But then they move to Houston and do the same stuff, and they're freaking killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you like can make a living and do it. So it's cool. It's cool because they have all of that. It's just, how do you get people to drive to Kennedale? But that's neither here nor there. I don't even know what to talk about now. What I'm trying to think, but specifically bacon wrapped Oreos.
Specifically,
there's some sort of weird watermelon chicken thing or something recently that you didn't do, to be clear. But like, has there been a thing like the Oreos or something like that where a meat church, disciple or whatever, somebody has come up with where you're like, this is so weird, and then actually turns out being a great recipe and then gets blown up, viral, everything?
Yeah, there's a few, but the bacon wrapped Oreo thing, I just started to see a trend, or not a trend. I mean, you see it being posted for 1 or 2 weeks. And this was a rare day that I didn't have a lot going on. And so I picked up my phone and selfie was like, bacon wrapped Oreo is a trend on the internet. Let's go make them. And I just recorded going to the store and making them. And, and I took a bite and it was real. And I was like, they're actually not that bad. Now, I probably wouldn't bring them to y'all's party like on a Saturday night. But if I did, they'd get eaten.
Yeah.
Definitely two things that probably don't go together that worked. But the current trend is smoked cream cheese, which is actually damn good.
Yeah, I could see that.
So we decided we have a TikTok, but I'm not like trying to make these funny TikTok videos. Yeah. So we're just like taking our existing material and putting them on there. Yeah. And I said, well, let's make a video. Let's do a cream cheese. Total fail. Like we put it on the grate, and after like 20 minutes, I came and opened it, and it was like falling through the grate. Apparently, you have to put it on foil or in a pan. And I was like, well, that TikTok will have to wait. Yeah. So we redid it.
Put it on?
Barbecue fails. You could do a series like that.
Totally. Yeah. Like normally I fancy myself a decent cook and it works out, but I literally I use this small Traeger Ranger and I opened up the lid and I was like, shit.
All this work.
But you just have to put it on something. So we redid it on foil. You could put it in a little pan, but it's actually really good.
Oh, I'm sure.
Do you just eat cream cheese, or you put it on something?
Like a cracker. It was like 90% cream cheese. And I probably just needed a spoon.
Yeah. I saw, interesting. Who's the guy? Malcolm. I saw he did with he put like a sauce on it, like a glaze. And all that.
I poured some Texas pepper jelly on it. At Christmas when people put the cream cheese out and they're like raspberry chipotle. I thought, well, we'll do that. So I put like apple cherry habanero. But I recommend it. It's like 2 hours at 225 or whatever. Put seasoning on it. People have been scoring it like a pork butt, so I tried to score it, which was I'll show you pictures. It was hard.
Didn't work out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Jeff Bekovic, a friend of mine. Yeah, I thought y'all knew each other. So like he told me what their food costs were, and so ever since then I want to open a pizza place. I just like it's like screw barbecue. We'll actually like make money, but we have a pizza oven at our commissary kitchen that we use for like pies and all sorts of stuff. And so I started making my own dough, like really awesome dough, and doing pizzas. And we had talked about during the pandemic of like we could just use it as a ghost kitchen kind of thing. And we just never did it. But anyway, the point of the story, I didn't make dough. I didn't have time. And then Emma's parents came over. And so I just bought some dough at Central Market and I got a green egg and I had the pizza thing. And I don't really know what happened, but it was like as soon as the like dough touched the stone, it just incinerated. Like it was just like you've seen those videos of like lava going over something. It was like it just like immediately turned. And I think like Eric was talking to me and I wasn't paying attention and like the grill got too hot or like the stone was too hot. So then I tried to let it cool down. And then anyway, so then I bought like those shitty, like, our pre-made crust just to do it. And I just sadly ate it. Like so mad at myself. Like, God, dude, And I had like 6 dough balls. So I just kept making them like, maybe this one will work. And then, It didn't work, so I need some tips, big green egg tips from you. But, and you got all the toys now. We just picked up a mill scale grill.
Yeah, I heard about that last week, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. Those guys are so nice.
They
too.
are.
Awesome.
Yeah,
They
they're
are
really
the
nice.
best.
I was telling them I'd love to get a big pit because they're building one for Truth now where it's 1,000 gallon with the, I guess you wouldn't care if I said this, but whatever, 1,000 gallon with a grill on the side, and then like a burn barrel, their version of a burn barrel. And I was like, dude, I want that, but we have like 6 Mobergs and like all this stuff. It's like, I don't know if
I'll tell you what Matt told me. Like, I don't need the big one that I bought. And he goes, yeah, but you're what we consider a collector, so it's okay. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Some people have cars, I have pits and grills. And
I mean, you're going to have it forever.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
that's what I said. I'm like, my kids can have this one and the backyard model. And if they're not pescatarians or...
Hey, you never know. Should we got a couple listener questions. A lot of them were really stupid, and so we didn't write them
Welcome
down.
to the internet.
Cody, our friend Cody, Nethery, I guess I'll say his last name. Who cares? But
Oh, yeah. Why am I bad at returning text?
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah.
Cody, because I'm busy.
Yeah.
But
so
thanks
there
for
were
writing
some
an
of
article
those.
about us.
Yeah.
Love you,
but
Cody.
he's
You
a
wrote
good
one of
dude.
the first articles about us too.
Yeah, way back in
Yeah.
the day. And then he lives over by Magnolia now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, some of those things, even though we just brought that up, I was like, that's stupid. I won't bring it up. Patreon.com/Heim Time Podcast. One of our loyal patrons, Pat Flynn. What is your favorite barbecue tailgate dish and any particular rubs used?
I don't know if it's my favorite, and I'm not trying to cop out with this, but I always make a crazy amount of wings at a tailgate because you can prepare them all the same way and then finish them to feed a wide variety. So like last week's YouTube video was the ultimate crispy chicken wing, where we pulled out all the tricks to cornstarch them, air dry them, grill them hot, and then we flash fried them. So maybe you don't have a fryer at the tailgate, but anyway, I normally use our voodoo seasoning to season all the wings or our Holy Gospel. And then I cook them high temp as high as I can.
Yeah.
So if you got, just grill them till they're pretty crispy. And then I usually will toss them in 3 or 4 different sauces. So you can have hot, lemon pepper. Now I'm on this big kick on Bachan's hot and spicy Japanese barbecue sauce. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not that hot. So you can toss them in different things. That way you can put them out and you can appease a whole crowd. But it's funny lately, I'm sure you never, want to go make yourself a brisket. And so anytime I do like these cool caterings and even tailgates, I'll stay away from that because or like at a festival, like I'm sick of doing it.
Yeah.
But like this past weekend, I'm like, why am I overthinking it? Like all these people from Tennessee, they don't get this. And I just made a bunch of standard brisket and they wouldn't shut up about it because they don't get it. So, try not to overthink it. There's certain things we're all good at, and sometimes you should just stick with them.
I was complaining to somebody about that one time. This was years ago, and bacon burn ends, pork belly burn ends, another thing that we're both known for. And then Chefs for Farmers, we did the bacon burn ends in a salad when we won that one year. But I was like, God, I just always, every time, bacon burn ends, brisket, that's what people want. And I forget who I was talking to, but they were like, you go see the Rolling Stones, you want to hear the hits.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like for some people that haven't heard of us or tried our stuff, whatever, it's good for that. But then also at the end of the day, it's like, just
the bills.
be proud of what you're known for.
Yeah.
And like, don't show up with the, pimento cheese.
Don't try to French it up too much. Okay, let's do that at Chefs for Farmers. Let's do pimento cheese crostinis.
Okay, perfect. We did
Sounds delicious.
For one of my classes. We did kind of a play on the TSAR, but a pimento cheese smash burger.
That was actually good.
And
I don't like pimento cheese.
I smoked them. It wasn't like a true smash burger. I smoked the patties kind of low, and then we seared them right at the end, and then just a good pimento cheese.
Man.
But yeah,
I know, I'm getting
delicious, a
hungry.
little salty, a little. Twitter, Mark Sweeney. What upgrades did Matt get on his mill scale gear? Thoughts on Texas OU joining the SEC?
Oh,
I think
that.
he said he was trying to buy one of the backyard ones.
Okay.
And so I was just going to say do it first, but before you answer.
I've got 3 mill scale cookers. I have the open fire grill with everything from, that's probably not what he's asking, but I'll just answer it.
Yeah.
From, the Iron Cross, Asado Dome, plancha, multi-level grill, which is a ton of fun, but really hard to move around.
Right.
It's currently sitting on my boat dock because we took it down
From
there
that
to
video?
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to move this down the road. So we'll be back there this weekend, and Tracy within 5 minutes going to be like, what's your plan for that thing?
I already know.
And then I have a backyard 94 gallon, and I have a 529 custom, trailer rig.
Yeah.
But on the backyard model, I actually took it as is because I just wanted one like really traditional. And honestly, I just wanted that one to be like everybody else because I became their first ambassador, and it was about that. It was about how to show the backyard guy how to cook. So I didn't want anything special. I just like wanted what it is. And it's crazy cool. People come over to the house and they go straight to that. It's just sexy.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, their stuff is so
well
badass.
built.
Beautiful.
Now, on the bigger rig, that was a prototype, and people don't really know that, but there's going to be a shortage of propane tanks. So the Mill Scale boys and Sonny Moberg, they know that propane tanks are going to be an issue. So my trailer rig is actually 3/8 pipe. With the price of steel, it's way too expensive.
Right.
So I kind of did, I worked with Matt and Caleb to help them see their vision of a prototype out. So it's really too expensive. But on that one, they basically did everything. So it has rods to hang sausage, just a bunch of little things that you may or may not need. Try to pull out all the bells and whistles. Put a big rack down the side to strap down Yetis, which is nerve wracking on a trip. As y'all know, I'm like, first off, I don't want someone to take the trailer, but I don't want them to take these Yetis.
Dude,
we've done that a couple times.
Charleston, when we were with John, Robert Sierra, we drove freaking 2,000 whatever deal Yetis and the trailer and all that. And there was one time where did we stop in like Mississippi or something?
Louisiana too?
No, to sleep. We stopped
Mississippi, I think.
and shared a bedroom with Robert Sierra, which was hilarious, by the way. That's another story, but you thought I snored bad up until then.
I was so tired I didn't even hear it though.
But like in the morning breakfast, like we got like coffee, and me and Robert like we just walked outside, and there were some guys like clearly about to steal it. Like they were looking at the hitch and stuff, and we were like, "What's up, guys?" And they're like, "Oh man, that's a cool rig, and then like ran away basically. We're like, "All right,
man." Yeah, you go to like every hotel operator, like, "Can I please park this under the canopy?"
Yeah.
For today, but
you mentioned being an ambassador, and we've had interventions before on this podcast for me. I don't like talking to people. I'm not very social. I told Arnis this at Red Dirt. I like at those events to stand next to you or Arnis, because then you guys talk to everybody and it feels like I'm being social, but I just don't have to do anything.
You're being social vicariously through your friends.
How and I'm like a Yeti Pro, like I get the discounts and stuff, but I'm a little hurt that I'm not an ambassador. You're like Miller Lite, Traeger, Mill Scale, like
NASCAR.
How can you help me? Yeah, NASCAR barbecue. How can you help me do those things? Do I have to be nice to people? You're
probably going to have to talk a little bit.
Okay.
I have the gift of gab, so there's that. The cool thing about all our partnerships is they've all happened organically, other than I did approach Leanne with Yeti, which, I'm sure 5,000 people have approached Leanne with Yeti, but normally this all happened because they're things we're using.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So like in the latest, in the Mill Scale case, Matt came to me and said, "Hey man, we're really aiming at doing this ambassador thing, and it's about the storytelling." And like he said, when people buy pit from us, they come back and ask us how to cook a brisket.
Right.
And he's like, "I'm a welder." And so I saw him as me years ago.
Right.
And so they're like my current passion project that I've already did what they wanted me to do, and I've gone beyond that because I'm like, this is cool and it's fun.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go teach a class in Lockhart at a time when I don't even have time to schedule them at my house.
Right.
Just because I think that's cool. So I'm trying to pay it forward with him. But a lot of them, it's been a dream come true on some, like Miller Lite. I'm not name dropping, but I met this high up guy at Miller Lite cooking for Luke Bryan for years. And he's like, one day we're going to work together. And then he calls me and says, we've got this Texas equity campaign that is about reminding people that Miller Lite was born in Fort Worth, Texas, and it's brewed in Fort Worth, and everybody thinks it's brewed up north.
Right, yeah.
Makes perfect sense. So it's all been like that.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
So it, I try to differentiate myself from like the competition guys. Guy goes, competes, wins something. They will go on Facebook and be like, I'd like to thank Smithfield Brands, and they're just trying to be validated. But I'm not trying to be NASCAR, but it is really cool to work with like super cool brands.
Yeah.
And it's all stuff I really use. We get calls nonstop for, that's influencer marketing is a big deal. People say, hey, we want to send you this, do this. And I don't do it.
Yeah.
I almost have a blanket rule now that we don't talk to anybody because it's already getting to be kind of too many. But sometimes there's exceptions. Like I'll tell you one more. This is a really cool story. So we become friends with Thomas Rhett, and he sings at Billy Bob's in May. He's like, dude, I want to wear one of your shirts on stage. I'm like, no way.
Please.
So he wears a shirt on stage. And I was in IT for 20 years before I left that boring career to, smoke meat full time, I guess. But so this guy that I used to,
cream cheese.
Cream cheese and Oreos. Let's brisket. So this guy texts me and he says, a guy I used to buy hardware from, and he's like, hey man, I'm at the Thomas Rhett show with my daughter and he's wearing a meat shirt. I'm like, yeah. So we start chatting back and forth. And he's like, well, she works with Luke Casey and he was in there earlier. I'm like, yeah. And
awesome.
Anyway, do you want to work with Luke Casey? And so 2 Mondays ago, we drive over to their office in Dallas, and his daughter's awesome, Avery. And she was like, they want to start doing reels on Instagram. And she said, would you be willing to make a cooking reel, whatever you want to do? We're not talking money or anything. Yeah. And I was like, see, that's fun.
Yeah.
And so I thought, so now it's all about that aspect. So I just said, yeah, sure. So she ends up giving Tracy these insanely expensive boots and then gives me boots. So we go make I made Texas Twinkies.
Nice. Yeah.
Sent them a 60-second reel. And I was like, you know what, while we're doing it, while we're waiting on those to cook, let's make a spicy margarita. So we shot a second one. And again, just for fun. Yesterday shows up 2 more pairs of boots and all kinds of clothes. And that's just like fun. So it's, again, totally organic. I didn't pick up the phone and call them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think too, it's like you mentioned it, but it's all, it works with Meat Church. It works with the brand. You're not like doing anything crazy, and something that like going back to the Chopped and stuff. There's like so many, I had a friend who said this, who's in like, real estate stuff, big, but was like the most important part of your business as you grow is what you say no to is almost more important than what you say yes to. And so I think it's Medium Raw, Anthony Bourdain's book, where like the first or the second, essay is about selling out. And he talks about how like, I'm sure you could get a lot of money, like doing an Imodium, or something, or like some sort of Pepto-Bismol. And that was his thing. I think it was Imodium that was like, we'll pay you $1 million to do this. But the line of, this is who I am for us restaurants, for you, what you do. And it's like, you want to be associated with, those brands, and those things are great. But then it's like, you can pick the wrong one and it could be negative, where it's
hard to say no. Yeah. Because you're on this thing like, I'm suddenly being asked to be paid to do this. And like, but it's very tough to say no.
Yeah. You're like a lifestyle brand.
Yeah. That's what we're trying.
Like a crossover between food and like, I mean, you've got beer and all these things, and it's like
all the merch.
It's literally like people want to be that.
That's what we're. So the whole thing is like, I market to myself. At this age, this is what I do. This is what I enjoy. And there's certain components in that ecosystem that fit. Like we could, I got an email from a PR company, and people took this gig, and they're like, we think you'd be great to apply for this campaign. I'm like, first off, I don't apply to anything, so I don't want you to see on Instagram paid sponsor. That's not our mission. It's just about bringing the lifestyle forward. Anyway.
Yeah,
reaches a lot of people.
We'll get paid. Well, we're open. We're open.
Hey, so second part of his question.
Things changed when we had a kid, so go ahead.
His Texas OU question.
Yeah.
I'm so fired up about that. Like, Texas is a bunch of whiners, and they're like, oh, we've been left out in the cold, and now we need to join. And so it is what it is. I don't like super teams, and I really don't like super conferences. So part of me doesn't love it, to be honest with you, but we'll see what happens. I mean, like, I'm an Alabama fan, but the playoffs almost get boring.
Yeah.
Because it's the same teams over and over. And
Bama, Clemson.
I feel bad. Like I don't want it. Bowl season isn't what it was when we were younger. So I don't know. I don't love this move, but
we
it
had
is what it is.
Greg Tepper, who's with the Dave Campbell's football, the editor. He came on, like, we did an emergency football podcast after all that came out.
He's great.
And he's hilarious.
Yeah.
One, so it was great, but kind of was telling us all the ins and outs. But yeah, my funniest, and obviously, you know, I'm a TCU fan, but to me, it was like, why is Texas going to leave to, you know, instead of getting beat up by TCU every year, they're just going to go get beat up by Alabama? That doesn't make a ton of sense.
Did you see the video of that judge that just gave it to that was great.
That was awesome. I had 30 people send that to me probably.
Yeah.
I was like, this
You'd rather
is
go
great.
3-8 against Alabama than 3-8 against TCU or something like that.
And then there was like a rumor that TCU may go to the SEC, which is like, there's no way. I don't think that would happen. But then that was like on Twitter, and then someone tweeted, Texas has reapplied for the Big 12. It's like TCU's going. I was like, that's good. Suck it.
Yeah.
I'm fired up, dude. This might be our year. We got a great team. So
it's almost time, right?
Hopefully
it's like
we
20
can.
days.
Yeah,
till
like
college?
a week or two,
it's,
right? This is like week
first,
0.
Yeah. It's the first weekend in September, I
NFL
think.
is later.
Yeah.
A week later.
I mean, it's coming up, but anything else for Matt? Oh, you had a Luke Bryan question.
Yeah. How tight are the jeans?
Are they painted on?
I kind of like so I used to not like Luke because I was like, he didn't seem true country to me. But then I got a thing for him now.
I feel like you should take her Saturday night. He's here in Dallas.
I told him yesterday as like a
She
hint.
told me. I didn't know.
So
But
the last
so
time he
hot.
was here, well, so I'll address the whole thing. So he gets a bad rap. A lot of, guys that sing in Nashville, they all get called sellouts,
Right.
but he may be the most redneck human I've ever met. What you see is what you get. But the last time he played at Starplex, whatever it's called now, we were in the back and he comes flying off the stage and he has his shirt ripped off and he puts his arms around me and I'm pinned against the wall and I'm like, he's sweaty mess. And so I'm just like, he's like, what's up? And I'm like, so then he runs off and he jumps in his van, like a runner van.
Yeah.
But the reason he jumped in the van was to lay down so the tour manager could pull his tight ass pants off of him so he could change.
See, I
and
knew
it took an assistant to get those pants off.
It's like the Friends episode with Ross and the leather pants.
That's
Yes.
hilarious.
See, I'm uncomfortable in my Howler Brothers shorts that are too small because I'm eating too much.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out there and do that in front of
Oh, yeah.
20,000 people.
No, same
It's like
way.
his signature at this point.
I guess.
Yeah,
That is
and then you
16.
get into the
Okay, that's-
stuffing, not stuffing debate. Who knows? Who's to
I don't
say?
know.
Well, you would love this. I saw a picture of Sonny over at SMU that my son sends to me, and he's on a golf cart first day, and his legs are like wide open, and you're like, whoa. Like,
Jesus.
yeah. In the
Why,
truck.
why did you say I would love that?
Well, just because it was.
Why would I love that?
I would love it. The tires on the golf cart were also bald, and so it was easy to make fun of. That's why you love it. But
I don't know. I'm joking, but yeah, Luke Bryan. I mean, really, Pitmaster of the Stars. Luke Bryan's one you've been jealous of, I think.
Yeah.
Where George Strait, you did that. I mean, you've done some
got lucky
awesome
with that
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. It's a
That's
weird,
cool.
weird
Lifestyle,
weird
man.
connection. I mean,
Lifestyle
we
brand.
were cooking, for a big one this weekend, and the opening act, Mike Ryan, Texas country guy, he comes right up, man, I'm a huge fan, and I made your breakfast fatty a few weeks ago, and I look on his Instagram, and sure enough,
That's awesome.
right in the middle of all his music pictures, there's this neat church breakfast fatty. So we're buddies now.
Oh,
I mean,
real cool.
I forgot, I think you said at the start, food is at the center of everything we do or something to that effect. It is amazing to see, like, especially now with COVID and everything, how, like, crazy it is. Like, people coming to the restaurant and, like, having a good time. And it's like how that, it changes your whole, like, week. It's like you go have a good meal somewhere and, like, now it's like everybody posts about it and all this stuff,
Crazy.
especially with everything else going on. It's cool to see that, we're not just making food or videos or what, it's like we're really impacting people in a meaningful way.
I mean, it's our escape a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I just don't want to, I cook every day. And like sometimes I just, not only do I not want to cook, but it's more just go enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's like forces you to slow down. And
Yeah. It's awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll be hanging out in a couple weeks.
Heck yeah. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm excited that we were able to. I appreciate you guys even thinking to have me here.
That's
of course.
awesome.
Thanks for coming.
People were very excited. We got, like we said, we had a lot of stupid questions, but then overall it was like a bunch of like, oh, my favorite barbecue guys. And, a lot of people saying we should collab. And so
we should definitely.
Maybe there's something in the works. We'll see. But Matt, we love you, man. meatchurch.com, @meatchurch for everything, Instagram, Facebook, all that. We didn't even talk about it, but join the Meat Church congregation, right? On Facebook.
Yeah, that group's up to like 150,000 people. It's crazy. It's more than our Facebook page.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's crazy.
But you got all sorts of people using the rubs. I saw on that the first time I saw smoked queso, and then that went viral, right?
Man,
that was
not bad for Velveeta.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, at Fort Worth, Texas, my mom made queso with Velveeta growing up, so it's like it's right up my alley. But yeah, check out Matt's stuff. He's killing it, and hopefully, if we do Chefs for Farmers, we're gonna do some stuff coming up. Come see us and tell us you enjoyed this podcast, and if you didn't, then don't tell us that. So.
Patreon.com/HeimTime Podcast.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Follow us $5. Thanks.